No sé qué tienen las flores, Llorona, las flores de un campo santo. Hi, amigos. I'm Whitney, not Houston. I am la Hechicera del Horror of Whitscraftngore, and I am here in my creepy conjurings corner of art, makeup, and folklore. Now, the song I just sang was La Llorona, and it is a folk song that has been around for many, many years. And so, while it has the name La Llorona, as I talk about today's folklore feature, I am doing La Llorona, the weeping woman. I will be giving some backstory to some things, including this song. So, while the song has the title, yes, it is about a woman in mourning. And we would typically hear this song during Dia de los Muertos because it is more so, it's not fully celebrated, but it's mostly utilized in folklore tunes, rancheras, and mariachi music to honor deceased loved ones, those in mourning, because of the time of year that it is played. But since it's not quite that time of year yet, I decided to talk a little bit about this. Because this is a fascinating song, because it is about a woman in mourning, why not talk a little bit about this woman in mourning? Now, while the lyrics hold variations from many musicians, there was one singer, or composer rather, who popularized it. His name was Andres Enestrosa, and he popularized the song in the 1940s. But the singer who was notable to take this song on with her unique vocals was Chavela Vargas. And ever since she sang it, many, many musicians have taken on this beautiful song and made it their own interpretation. To this day, have been various musicians like Eugenia Leon, Natalia Lafourcade, Angela Aguilar, and Angelica Valle. I'm butchering these names. Lo siento. I am so sorry. I'm working on it. So, but one singer in particular I grew up with because my dad was a huge fan of Los Bookies was Marco Antonio Solis. And yes, he sang it with Angelica Valle in the movie Coco, the soundtrack. Now, that song is of that feature in Coco, which is of a boy in Day of the Dead and Dia de los Muertos, where he is trying to break boundaries, trying to find his heritage, but that's not what we're getting into. But this is, in fact, about encompassing love, encompassing loss, and that boy did lose his family. But anyway, I am rattling on at this point. This is not about Coco. Maybe another time we'll get into some Day of the Dead stuff. Maybe. But today I want to talk about this poor woman, this poor mourning woman. Ay, mi Llorona. Let's do it. So, this poor young woman, she was dressed in white. And I'm dressed in white today, and I'm doing pale face, and I am looking kind of dead here because I paled out my face. I'm trying to hollow out my cheeks, and I'm going to go into finishing off this makeup as I talk about this woman, this young woman. Now, there's many tales and interpretations of this woman. And I'll mention some of the stuff that I know, some of the things that I know on this tale of this woman. So let me dive into this a little bit. So, long ago, after a poor young woman had fallen in love with a wealthy man, she married him and they had children. Isn't that a beautiful story so far? Yes. But it all went downhill. Just like a lot of drama and dramatic stories and horror and folklore. This woman, it is said that this woman wanted to surprise her husband one day, and instead she had come up on him and she saw him with another woman. And she was in a fit of jealousy and rage, and she snapped. And the woman took her innocent children and she ran to the river, and she was so angry and jealous of her children, of that woman. She had something evil in her take those children and drown them. What possessed her to do that? I don't know. It's a legend. I don't know. So the story goes that after she had killed her children, that she had killed herself. And I have a hair in my mouth. Excuse me while I try to fix it. Anyway, so she had drowned herself, and I shouldn't have. That was weird. I just like, ugh. So anyway, she had killed herself out of guilt. And it is said that this woman in white, that this woman who had killed her children, who had killed herself out of guilt, she haunts these rivers where she has killed her children, and you can hear her crying. Mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos? My children, where are my children? And that's just one interpretation of the story. There are many, many more. And there's another theory of the story. Some people believe that this woman did not kill herself, that in fact that she did not kill herself. I don't know what region of Mexico or Latin America that would tell a tale like that, but some believe that the husband had caught his wife watching him cheating on him, and then later he had disposed of his children and disposed of her because he didn't want anything to do with them anymore, and out of spite and his own rage, he decided to take out his own wife and children. Why? I don't know, but that's a chilling idea. So anyway, that is one variation. And it's really disturbing. Both are very disturbing, but with what's in common with his story of the husband doing that is that the woman still cries, mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos? While she's looking for her children in the other worlds, in the afterlife. Now, I should probably slow down before I tell this next tale and kind of talk a little bit about this makeup and why I'm doing it this way. Now, while this ghost wears white, I'm wearing white today. I'm a little chilly, so I'm wearing this right now. And if you watched my first video, you might have noticed this when I dressed up as a Nawal. And yes, I tried to pronounce that this time. And before I continue, I'm sorry in advance. I may mispronounce things, but I'm trying. Especially with Mesoamerican words, Nawa. I don't speak Nawa. I have so much love and respect for those who do. But I have such a passion for wanting to learn and if anyone wants to inbox me, message me, YouTube, and I'll hit you up. Or if you could hit me up on my links that I will talk about later, please feel free. But anyway, with this makeup, yes, I'm paling my face out, but I don't want to go too dark because naturally I have olive skin and I want to keep this ghost look a little light. I don't want to make it too dark. I'm actually really inspired with this look by Santi from The Devil's Backbone. And if you have seen that look, it has a little bit of like a rust look in his eyes. And that's another ghost story I recommend. It's a great film. So in fact, I might actually flip my phone around to, well, actually, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess this up. But no, check out The Devil's Backbone. Good film. I'm sorry, I'm 80. Well, I won't say that. But I am kind of bouncing around the place here. But yeah, I'm a little bit more inspired by the look of Santi from The Devil's Backbone with how I'm taking the reds, the orange with the pale on my features. Trying to accent my own olive skin features because I don't want to pale myself out too much. I'm trying to go into my own pigments and go with that. See, I already tried to do some pale on my hands, and I'll actually go ahead and do a little bit of that and show. See, if you're going to do makeup and you have an event to go to, I highly recommend doing your hands, your arms, if you can, because everything kind of syncs up and it looks good when you do that. So take a brush and swish it around with your liquid-based makeups and put some powder on. That way you've got your pale or whatever pigment you're putting on. That's just a tip for now. But yeah, and I even did it to my neck. Some too. But anyway, this next story is quite personal. Because it's close to where my family's from. My family is from Jalisco, Mexico, and with this story, excuse me, yawning. This next story is of a couple, and they were young, and they didn't have children yet, and they lived in La Barca, Jalisco, and it is said that they had taken some time among themselves and their neighbors, and they had heard cries one night, and it sent chills down their spine. And the couple had asked someone in town, they asked a neighbor, oh my goodness, what was that sound? It was so bone chilling. And a neighbor happened to say, that was La Llorona. And that couple that had heard these cries were my grandparents. Interesting, huh? So, yes, there are people like my grandparents to this day that believe that this woman exists. So, these tales, they're cautionary tales, they're tales and stories and ghosts of what people hold on to in culture and belief. They even use it to tell children. You know, my aunt was one to tell stories to my uncles and my other aunts, just to scare them so they would stay safe and not venture out too far or go too far alone, and just trying to keep them out of trouble. And so this is a tale that is used to try to keep children at bay, away from places, make them come in from, playing so late at night and these kinds of things. So at this point, yeah, I know I'm pale. I'm still trying to pale myself out, but I'm also, because I said I'm interpreting this look from the Devil's Backbone a little bit, there were some, like I said, some kind of like rust type looks going on. So I'm trying to kind of patternize these reds, these yellows, and kind of bring them up in my what would you say, my hairline here. And I like to use these little sponges because you get cool textures when you start stippling them on your hands and on your face. Like, I like to kind of do this. If it's almost like you kind of see that going on Beetlejuice a little bit, with the stippling of the green around the foreheads and that hairline. And I love when I see those kinds of makeups going on and it's not just straight pale face. It gives some depth to characters when you see things like that. And I'm trying to find a good sponge. I mean, I've got plenty of them, but I just trying to find one that I want. Sometimes you just have your favorite. So I like to kind of dabble a little bit of the I have like this burgundy color and almost like a green on my wolf palette here. Like, I kind of like to dabble a little bit of both. And I'm going to stipple my forehead. And I probably could have done that separately, but I'm going to try to blend that out a little bit. I can always take a Q-tip and do that. I might roll it out. Yep. And then if it's too heavy, I can always... What's kind of neat about this is that you can always kind of go back and fix it however with these kinds of sponges, especially if it's a water-based makeup. Most people like to stipple with, well, I do too, with alcohol-based makeup, and I love doing that, but that's not what I'm aiming for right now with this particular look. So I might, my hair. I might do a little bit here on my cheeks, and then I think I'll break that up a little bit. And then I'll do a little bit more here. I might just go and pale out a little bit more there. So you see, I've stippled my forehead. I think I'll stipple down here too, just a little. So anyway, yeah, I had mentioned that people believe that La Llorona is real, and I'm not going to be the kind of person to say, no, she's not. I'm not going to say, yes, she is. Because the reason why I do this is because I like to tell stories, and I like to keep things open to interpretation, and for the sake of story, I don't like to judge people's experiences. I just love stories, and especially creepy ones. And, like I said, these are cautionary tales. They have meaning behind them. So, when I say there's meaning behind this one in particular, this one has so much meaning to me for the sake of not only is this something that has been so close to home that, I have family that has claimed experiences, but because of the history behind it. And when people say they hear cries of this woman, before I get into why is this so personal, because this was a hit home on this woman. She had done something really personal. The legend is she took her own life. She took her own children away. That is personal. And then she cries about it. People say they hear her crying, "Ay, mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos?" Which means my children. My children, where are my children? And so this story goes back pretty far. And this goes back to during the time of prior to the conquest. And some believe that this has a lot to do with the diaspora of the Mexica people, the Nahua people, which were the Aztecs, and the genocide. Some believe that La Llorona was a native who had 2 kids with a Spaniard, and they say she was La Malinche, and she was one of 20 of the enslaved women given to Spaniards. And one of those Spaniards happened to be Hernan Cortez. And so that, to me, in itself, rings a bell for what's current today, that I'll bring up later, of what's an issue in today's society of people being kidnapped in a particular positions that it shouldn't be happening. I mean, this is something that happens and it's scary and it shouldn't be happening, but it happens, especially with women. But this woman, she got lucky in some ways. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't have said that, because that is open to interpretation itself, because she is La Malinche is a controversial figure, because after she was enslaved, she was given to Hernan Cortez and became not only his advisor and interpreter, but it was said that she had bore a son. She had children. And that was also symbolic of, people looked at that as she was treacherous to her own people because of how close she became with Hernan, how close she became with the Spaniards, and what she was doing at the time was just a disgrace and treacherous to the people. So that was very frowned upon, and some look at her as a victim in the history of what had happened to the Mexica and the Nahua, because, like I said, she was enslaved with other Native women. So, again, a controversial figure, but a prominent one in the history. So, and now I'm just touching up this pale face that I'm just working on here. I did decide to stipple, and I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to stipple some more. Give it a little bit more red. So anyway, this is a story that has gone also to interpretation of not only this native woman of La Malinche. But she's also depicted as a goddess. And again, I'm not good with saying certain names, but this was a Nawa goddess. I'm yawning again. I'm sorry. And she was of the many variations that were depicted as like the mother figure goddesses from what would people call from the Aztec what they would call on a matron to worship in those deities. But I don't. Here's the thing about the Aztecs. That is a word given to them by the Spaniards. So that's why I said Mexica, because these Mexica people, or because they were in Mexico, and I think I mispronounced it in my first video. I think I said Mexica, but Mexica is how the Nahua people say it. So anyway, this goddess is named Siwakot. I might be wrong on how I say it, but I think that's how you say it. She was this goddess, this maternal type goddess. And she appeared, it is said that she appeared at night in white to her people, and to Montezuma, interpreting that same mis hijos, ¿dónde está mis hijos? But it was not in Spanish. It was in the Nahuatl, the Nahuatl language. But it was my children, were lost, or something of the sort. And it was something that when she would do that, it was something it would be something to the effect of her trying to present forewarning of omens to come, of preparing her people for things that were on its way if they didn't do anything. And her way of doing that was to come in this form and to project her voice in a way. And one time when she did that, there was a famine that came. And with that famine, there was a few years, not with the famine, but a few years after the famine, was when Siwakot had appeared again in white, and she had cried. And that was the last time that she would cry before the Spaniard men had come on the conquest of Tenochtitlan. And after that effect, it is said that, I might be wrong, but the story goes after Siwakot saw the devastation of the Spaniard conquest of her people, and she had cried, my children, my children are lost. There's different interpretations of these stories, but this one, it goes so far back that it's in this time, in this Meso time. And I'm sorry, there's a little indigestion. And I should probably start getting back to this makeup here. Now, since I've been talking about crying, I should probably start doing some tears. I'm gonna do that. But I kind of want to see, I don't want to do typical like blue or black. I kind of want to mix it up a little bit. Let me see. I have flat brush and then I have thin brushes. Let me see. Oh. Because I had used these yellow tones. I think I'll kind of take this in my eyeliner here. And I'm already kind of doing something I didn't really want to do. Oh, I can always break it up a little bit. But, you know what? Maybe I will just... See, I'm trying to make it like a little bit of a rust. But maybe I should... I don't really want to do the blue. I haven't done makeup in a long time. Let me see. Can I? Oh, I could probably blend it. That's something else I like to do. I like to blend colors. Now, there is a look where it looks all black, and I didn't really want to do the black look. So maybe I should just mix this up a little bit more to my liking with these colors. Let me do that first. I said I didn't want to do blue, but look at me. I'm doing blue. I'm trying to kind of make it look a little bit more purple. I'm trying to blend it down a little bit. You know, typically I've seen the black eyeliner. I've seen blood. I've seen blood red, and I didn't want to do that this time. Have I done this look before? No. But I wanted to do something different. And I feel like because I have all of these rouge-like colors, the hue and everything, I don't know, maybe I just felt like I wanted to kind of make it accent a little bit more. You know, some people when I do their colors, some makeup artists like to kind of make it all go, and I think I'll do that. Kind of do that, make it drench, not drench, but look like it's kind of staining down, faded down a little bit. And wave it. Yeah, let it fade out a little bit down here. But anyway, while I'm doing these tears, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I've talked about Siwakoto and these indigenous interpretations. And the reason why I brought it up is because, you know how I said it's relevant to this day with some of these things in these stories. They're not just stories. There's issues in this world where people go missing. And it's brought up in entertainment. While there's entertainment in film, there's old films like if you know of the luchador, the wrestler, the old films of Santo, there's a movie of him fighting La Llorona. And now it's come so far where we have here in our own country of the US, there's a US version of this film by Blumhouse, and if you've seen that American version of La Llorona, her makeup is dark, pale and dark and black, and I didn't really want to go for that look, because I feel like that look and the red is something that's seen all the time, and I just wanted to accent my features a little bit more, and I wanted to play with this look a little bit more. But also I wanted to shed, while I kind of keep my makeup a little light, I wanted to shed light on information on how this has gone so far in stories and interpretation of what's current and relevant today, not just in society of people going missing, but the indigenous influence of Jairo Bustamante in his version of La Llorona. This director, this filmmaker, I think he is of Mayan descent, and he's from Guatemala, I believe. And his film is on the interpretation of where there's a general, and the general is someone who actually is haunted by a symbol of a ghost that is La Llorona. Hold that thought. I'll be right back. Sorry. Anyway, there is this indigenous woman who becomes a servant to this general who is guilty of attacking native people in Guatemala. It is his soldiers and him that did horrible things to these native people. And while this old man is dealing with this trial and what has happened to these indigenous people, he's going through health issues. I don't know how much to really tell. If you want to watch it, I don't want to spoil too much. But his servant at the time is named Alma, and she is a Mayan woman who is there, and she definitely is one to be around while he endures these hauntings and this guilt of what has happened to those people, the Maya people. And it's depicted as a horror film, but there's drama, and it is indeed horror to me, because the idea of a general or someone to carry out completions of genocide is horror within itself, because it's been within our histories of human interpretations and conflict and conquest for as long as we have known mankind. I don't like using that word so much, mankind. But anyway, there are other people that have used the interpretation of La Llorona in storytelling. Now, there is this author, and I wanted to read her book, and I have yet to do that. And it's a book called The Weeping Woman and Other Stories. But this author is a Yoame woman, a Yaqui woman, and she depicts La Llorona in such a way that the Yoame would see as a spirit. Now, like I said, I have not read this book. I want to, but the reason why I know of this story is because of this book right here. Now, if anyone wants to get into the diaspora of certain tribes, especially the Yaqui people, the Yoame people, and the conflict and the politics and the hardships and everything, the rabbit hole to go into for that is this book, Yaqui Indigeneity by Ariel Zadarayan Tumbaga. So he mentions this poet, and Alma Luz Villanueva, on her book of La Llorona, he describes Alma's story of La Llorona as a spirit who was talked about among a grandmother and a granddaughter, about a spirit of this woman, this native spirit woman who had saved children, not the children, but the people, the Yoame people. And the quote is, "When the great flood came and the terrible men from the ocean came, she turned her children into fish." So, in light of what the soldiers had done to the Yoame people, La Llorona was a spirit granting the Yoame a merciful death. And I found that to be, even though I don't have the story, I don't have the book. Like I said, I have Ariel's book to tell me enough, but it's not enough because I want to read it, that book. But the connection to water, connection that these stories have to water, that these ghosts have, it's because water is what sustains us. It sustains us as people. It keeps life going. And some people see it as crossing over to another world. And I thought it was beautiful that this interpretation would carry a spirit in story to turn them to fish, instead of just saying, oh, well, this person had moved on with the angels or something, but instead they became fish, and fish are with life, with water. And I thought that was that was a pretty powerful thing to hear, even though I didn't read the story. So if anyone reads that book, message me. I would love to. It's out of stock right now, but once I see it's in stock, I want it. I don't know how much more I'm going to do of this, but I'm going to get a little bit more into something else here. And as I'm talking about these interpretations and what's relevant today, is that there's a lot going on in this world, and especially with the Yome people and so many tribes today. This connection of La Llorona and the stories I've mentioned so far, the crying, where people have gone missing, where women are hurt, missing, murdered. Missing, murdered Indigenous women is a thing that has happened and is still happening today. You know, the people, the leaders have gone missing too. Like a Yaqui leader, Thomas Rojo Valencia, just went missing early summer, like late May. And this man, he was a water protector. He was a land defender for his own people. And he lived in Mexico, in Sonora. I mean, I think that's where most of where these people had lived. And I'm trying not to get too... it hurts. My soul. When I find out that people that want to just have what's rightfully theirs, their land, clean water, what's right for their people, and they end up getting killed for it. And I am La Llorona, because here I am getting worked up over this. And I'm messing up this makeup. I didn't want to do this. Anyway. Thomas Rojo Valencia was murdered for defending his land, his water, his people. Now, there were these toll booths where I don't know. I hope that I'm sorry if this information is wrong, but if you want to go look it up on Thomas Rojo Valencia's death, feel free to do so. But after he was killed, there are these toll booths that are in connection to the fees and the land and the properties, which are given right to the Yaqui people. And the person who killed him was found eventually and detained because the person wanted to benefit from the fees of those booths on Mexico 15 International Highway, I think. But go and Google this information for yourself. But Rojo was an advocate and water protector, and he, among many, many, many Native people, are looked at like how most are today. To me, I think most Indigenous and Native people, I feel, are looked at like phantasmas, ghosts. They're not seen as much, and they're not heard as much. Their voices aren't heard as much. And when the people go missing, those voices should be amplified. They shouldn't just be silenced like ghosts. While Native and Indigenous people exist as 5% of the population of this world, They're the protectors of 80% of our world's biodiversity. Now, I myself have not only family in Mexico, but I have native roots as well, but I'm trying to reconnect, and I want to make sure this information is clarified on some of these roots in Mexico region and retracing things a little bit more here with my own. But that is not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I like to tell stories, and I wanted to connect this to something personal, and that's my tears. And that's not my nose, I promise. But oh, gross. I guess it was. But I did get emotional there. I'm sorry. So anyway, I wanted this to come full circle with an awareness of the connection of the ghosts and La Llorona. It was looked at as this vengeful woman, but was she really, you know, there's a little bit of a La Llorona in all of us. As you could see, I just got emotional over something that shouldn't be happening. It just shouldn't. And that's why I wanted to bring full circle of folklore and horror, of not only of folklore, but I wanted to do this makeup, and I wanted to do an interpretation of something that's important and relevant today. And while I wrap this up, I just want to say thank you for watching me, Whitney, as La Hechicera del Horror of Whitscraftngore. Please follow my YouTube channel, since you're on it. Subscribe here. I am on YouTube as La Hechicera del Horror, Whitscraftngore. I don't know if this is going to be backwards. Sorry. And then for art and makeup Zoom classes, which I'm teaching, you can email me at whitney.collazo@gmail.com to follow my socials, my sites, and information on Indigenous, educational, and contribution sites. Visit my Linktree at www.linktree.com/Whitscraftngore. All right, amigos. Gracias a todos. Thank you for everything. Thank you for sticking around on the stories, on these interpretations, and the awareness that I have given. And I guess here's my dress or top or whatever. And I do have a veil, sort of. No sé qué tienen las flores